Hey everyone, this is going to be my third and final um, intro to previously published material. This video this time is dealing with a revocation scare that happened back a few years ago. The idea was that I put out U.S. political prisoners since 2004. In the process of doing so, I had inadvertently missed one section of a police report where I mentioned my so-called victim's first name. And thanks to a 2009 modification of my sentencing terms, mind you, I was sentenced in 2004. I was released. They didn't have enough to actually rein me in, keep my voice silent. Because as soon as I got out, the first thing I did was start blog posting. And they hated that. Boy, they just kept coming down on me hard on that, and don't do this and don't do that. They actually went back to court and modified my conditions so I couldn't continue to mention her name. I can't talk about it. I can't publish it. I can't do anything, or it's a violation of the conditions. Now, mind you, this is a condition nobody else in the state is under. Nobody in the state of Montana that I have been able to find has any kind of a censorship, actual censorship, inside their sentencing. But they had to go back and modify my conditions to add that because I was so prolific. I was out there and I was beating the bushes and I was telling everybody what was going on and I was publishing all this information. They hated that. They hated it. So they actually tried to revoke me. It was the first revocation attempt. And when they failed the revocation attempt, they modified my conditions to try to keep me silent. Well, the video that I'm posting this to actually is to the second revocation attempt. The one where after I published the book, they hated it. They wanted the book stopped. They couldn't find a justifiable reason. So my ex, Mara, who I have been in court with literally since 2007 for my business assets that she stole, and the court refuses to this day to even set a court date for a trial so I can present in front of a jury that here are all the business records, they're all in my name. She stole them while I was in prison. I'm entitled to reimbursement. Forget any of that. But they actually sat here and went through the book. Her boyfriend, I'm assuming, or husband now, who she cheated on me with, another story entirely. But they went through this book and poured through it and found one place out of the several hundred-page book in a police report out of the thousands of redactions I had gone through and painstakingly gone through. I had sent the book off to 2 different peer reviewers to look for any mistakes I missed. No one else caught it. They had to have been months poring over this book, every line, every detail, found one place where I mentioned her name. Her first name only, not last name. No way to identify her at all because you can't look up someone by their first name. Or you can, good luck in sort of sifting through the thousands of people with the same first name in the country. But regardless, her first name was the only thing mentioned. And it was just one place surrounded by redactions, one place where I missed her name. And as a consequence, they said, okay, this deserves to go back to prison. My probation officer actually went into court and said, and when my attorney asked him whether or not he could actually, or I could have made this mistake, he says, I don't think Mr. Glick is capable of such a mistake. Excuse me, apparently I'm God, because I'm capable of making human mistakes. Sending it off to peer reviewers who also missed it must mean they're also gods. Because apparently no one outside the government is capable of making mistakes. Keep in mind, in the process of prosecuting this case, they made multiple typographical errors just in the presentation of this case. They sent the case to the wrong judge at one point because they made a typographical error. They sent it to Judge Allison locally when it was supposed to go to Judge Albright. So I'm the only person incapable of making mistakes. Thankfully, the court did come back. Albright did. The one good decision she's made in my criminal case, in any of my cases, really. Well, she made another one, but basically, she said that because the probation office required me to redact it under consequence of revocation, I was already considered punished under double jeopardy. Therefore, they could not come back now and revoke me on the same terms which they already did. So, saving grace, I was not revoked. I did not have more time given back to me. But boy, they wanted to. The prosecutor was just throwing everything out. I mean, Ed Corrigan, Limpus, Peg Allison, all court officials named in the book. Ed Corrigan is prosecuting it. Peg Allison is the court clerk who's processing and documenting all the documentation and papers. Everything that's being done by people who are named in this book are using this book to prosecute me. Huge conflict of interest. Even my attorney raised it. Said we need an independent prosecutor. The prosecutor's office cannot prosecute us. They have a conflict of interest. Albright disagreed. Albright said, nope, they're capable of doing it. Ultimately, I was redeemed. But it's a huge weight. And it's the primary reason why I stopped making videos. It's the primary reason why I stopped posting on my blog. It's because every time they find the minusculest little thing, they're going to come after me. And these videos that I'm making right now are incredibly scary for me. That I'm procrastinating quite a bit. There's also technical issues as I was trying to figure out a way to get the videos part of this podcast working, and I was stuck to just audios, and I wasn't getting any attention from the audios, and I was working on it. This last week, I finally, as you can tell, have got the video problem overcome. I was managed to raise the $350 necessary to pay for the video portion. Remember, because of my own disability, not the fault of the authorities, this is a genuine disability I was born with. I've had the symptoms since I was a teenager. Although I was forced to go on the disability because of the limitations that probation and parole put on me, telling me I could not work in the general public because there were children there, telling me I couldn't be in a position of authority over any children, and if someone walked in off the street who was a child, I would then be in a position of authority in a violation. Again, conditions no one else in the state is held under. The not having authority over children, yes. Being told they could not work in the public because children were in the public, no. No one else but me is held to that rule. So they made it impossible for me to earn income. I had no choice but to get onto disability because it was the only way I could support myself. Because if I was homeless, I would also go back to prison. Again, a condition no one else is held under. Anyone else who has, even on a registry, simply lists that they're a transient and they're still out there on the streets. Me, I've been told that if I become transient, I go back to prison. So I can't be homeless. I can't be living on the streets. I have to have money. So I was forced to go on disability, but now as a consequence of disability, it's incredibly hard to get off of disability because, you have the whole penalty consequence and transitions, and you lose medical coverage. And with my medical condition, I need to have ongoing and consistent medical care. I receive a bi-monthly immunosuppressant infusion that is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, way more than any income can possibly do. If I transition to a job, even in the Obamacare era, I'd still have to apply for, obtain insurance, get it. I'd lose a period of time where I wasn't receiving medical treatment for my care. And I received 5 years of no medical treatment for my care while I was in prison, and my health declined. I finally, at a point where I can actually be out and be physically active again, and to some degree, I can be able to go fishing, stuff like that. But it's still, what it is. I've still got a natural degradation curve, and I've also got my own what I consider to be responsible of the incarceration for not receiving treatment, physical rehab, or any sort of treatment for 5 years, really. But that's another entire issue about medical care and lack thereof, and deliberate infliction of harm by the prison system of Montana, which I'll do another video for probably at some point. But anyway, I'm just at this point just going on and on and on. So as I said, basic line, I'm actually out here. Did not get revoked, put back in prison. They tried, they failed, 2 attempts, but the second attempt, I wasn't going to go for the third strike. I wasn't going to go for the third attempt. So I've been trying to keep a low profile. I've had some encouragement to get my voice out there again, to be heard, especially in this day of, Black Lives Matter and everything else that's out there right now with addressing the actual political corruption that's in our system. And believe me, when I say Black Lives Matter, I'm not diminishing it in any way. I believe very strongly that Black individuals and minorities are targeted, they're profiled, they do receive an inordinate amount of attention from law enforcement and persecution from law enforcement because racism exists in our country. It does not mean that only Black people are subjected to this. I'm living proof of that. I'm not Black. I have Apache ancestry. I'm Native American. it's so minuscule it can't even qualify for benefits for being Apache. But nevertheless, there it is. Um, but that, like I said, that being said, the whole point is that no matter what you say about corruption, it exists in a broader platform. The Black Lives Matter movement is a reflection of a symptom of the disease, not the disease itself. You're not treating the disease by addressing Black Lives Matter or addressing the racism. The problem is that power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And these police departments have absolute power. I mean, Kalispell Police Department and the Sheriff's Department do not even have an internal affairs department. They have no separate independent governing authority overseeing their work. If they have a write-up, they have their supervisors look into it. If they have a complaint that's like an accidental shooting, they go to a neighboring county who they just scratch each other's back and always clear each other. There's just nothing wrong. It's impossible for them to be found wrong of doing anything wrong in this county or likely in this state. It just is. When I referenced in the video about their power, their just overwhelming power here, it's not the level of power you have like from the United States government. I mean, that is just even broader. But when you have absolutely no power, and someone has the power to throw you in jail, the power to take your property away, to censor your speech, to tell you what you can and cannot do, or you'll go to prison and be locked in a cell for 15 years. That's an unusual amount of power. To tell you can't go to the park, to tell you can't go sit in a fast food restaurant and have a meal, to tell you can't just anything, any of these numbers of restrictions. You can't work in the general public. You can't do all these things. They have an incredible amount of power, and it's just based on whims. Right now, I can't even be on Facebook because Facebook has a policy that says that sex offenders aren't allowed. I can't even sue them because I'm told that if I go onto Facebook, even under a false account, even under someone else's account, it's a violation because Montana is actually enforcing, or at least probation and parole here in Kalispell, are enforcing a private company's terms of service. I can't go on, I can't contact them, I can't do anything, including suing them over this infringement because it's a violation because at that point in time, I'm seeking membership to a community of which I'm banned, and therefore I go back to prison. The logic just blows my mind sometimes. But I also talk about in the video a little bit of the double jeopardy issue, which again, I'm going to do a whole video on that because it's such a huge issue. But the idea is there are two kinds of typical sentence. Well, there's three if you include the idea of a deferred sentence, which is you do your time, you don't have any other violations, they remove from your record. But the two issues that are most important are probation and probationary sentence and a suspended sentence. You can look this up in any legal dictionary anywhere else. A suspended sentence is a sentence that is not served at the time it's imposed, which means you're sentenced to 5 years, you don't serve any time, you're not in jail, you're out and around the world. If you commit a new crime, they look up the record, say, oh, he's on a suspended sentence, new crime triggers that, we're going to get, the only reason why you're given us a suspended sentence, so you remain law-abiding. You don't remain law-abiding, you get those 5 years back on top of whatever your new crime will trigger. So if you go commit a crime that's 10 years and you have the 5 years suspended time out there, the idea is you'll have 15 years to serve. Now, a probationary sentence is a sentence that is served in lieu of incarceration. You're in the custody of the state or wherever you're at. In this case, Montana. They supervise you, they restrict you, they have the right to go into your home without a warrant. They can come in and basically do whatever they want to do to you. They have complete and total authoritarian control over you. And you are physically in their custody. You are considered to be in the custody of the probation department. You're not free. You're not, it's not just sitting in the backdrop. You are physically serving custody. You are physically being restrained. Even if it's largely in limits of what you can and cannot do. I can't go to a bar, for instance. I don't drink. Just for the record, I don't drink. But I love to sing karaoke. And I love to shoot pool. And those are in Kalispell, Montana. The only place to do either one of those is in a bar. So I can't go sing karaoke. I can't go shoot pool because I can't go to a bar. The restriction isn't you can't drink. It is you cannot frequent establishments that serve alcohol or gamble. Can't go to casinos. I have no real interest to go to casinos. I don't gamble, but it's just there. So hypothetically, if they had a casino and they decided to do a karaoke night, I couldn't go to it. So at any rate, just these limitations out there are would exist on a suspended on a probationary sentence. Now, the double jeopardy rule under the Constitution of the United States says, you can't be subjected to double jeopardy. Most people see double jeopardy as you cannot be tried twice for the same crime. But the second prong of double jeopardy is you cannot be punished twice for the same crime. When you are given a simultaneous suspended sentence and a simultaneous probationary sentence running concurrently, it's double jeopardy. What Montana does is it runs you under the simultaneous sentences. A suspended sentence can only be given back to you if you commit a new crime. So you can go, that original 5 years we were talking about, you can go the whole 4 years, 11 months. You commit a new crime, you get a month back, or you get the whole 5 years back. You don't just get a month back, you get the whole 5 years back. On a probationary sentence, because you're actually in custody, the same scenario, you do the 4 years, 11 months, you get 1 month back. Or they can only, because you've been in custody for that time. They cannot resubmit you to new custody. What Montana does is they use the probation violation as a new crime to give you the 5 years. So you can do the month back on probation. So you get a month back plus another 5 years back, because they're basically doubled your options there. And that's why it's a double jeopardy issue. If you actually look at my documents, and you can find them on my blog, monspiracy.wordpress.com, or you can find them in my book, my sentencing terms, only mention suspended time, not probationary. However, Montana's state laws allow for probationary supervision during suspended sentences. It's technically, they don't call it probationary custody, but one of my favorite sayings is, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, looks like a duck, it must be a duck, even if it's holding a sign that says it's a chicken. I mean, for crying out loud, it is what it is. It's probationary custody. Regardless of, it's not just supervision, it's not just checking up on you. You are in their custody. In fact, if you look at my felon sheet online, it says in the custody of probationary parole. So it absolutely is a double jeopardy issue. And I talked about it a little bit on the video, but honestly, I was dealing with so much depression at that point. I think you can tell by the video that I was just totally depressed, totally down, defeated, ready to give up. But again, I like to say it is what it is. And I know I'm redundant with that statement, but it is what it is. Before I go ahead and break off from here and talk about, and let you guys see the video, I want to first announce my plans. Now that we've overcome the video problem, and now that I'm able to make these videos that are actually going to be videos, not worrying about translating them over to audio and only getting audio tracks, I'm going to try to stick to a schedule of putting out 2 podcast episodes a week. I'm going to shoot for Tuesdays and Saturdays. If I have a conflict on one of those days, I'll try to do it the day before. But my idea is Tuesdays and Saturdays I'll have videos out. We'll see if I can stick to it. Give me positive encouragement. Send me your support, because it's going to be a huge task for me. As you can tell, I'm using an iPhone to record this. I have no studio. I don't have equipment. I don't have anything. I just have whatever I can piece together to try to make these podcasts. Which brings me up to the other point that I wanted to make before I close this video. I have never wanted to profit off of my stories. A lot of convicts out there who they commit a crime and they sit back and they make their movie of the week deals, and they make their autobiography deals and everything about making money off of what they've done. I've never been about that. In fact, if you go online onto Google, you can actually get a free copy of my book. It's been on Google Drive forever. You can actually access it by tiny URL, that's TINYURL.com/ USPP 2004. It'll actually take you to the free copy I have online of the book. I'm not trying to profit off it. I put the price on Amazon as low as they would let me put it, just so I could distribute it through their site. I oftentimes I get allowed to, like, 5 days every 3 months, put it out for free, and I do it a lot. Same thing with 99 cents. It's already 99 cents on the ebook form, as low a price as I can get. If you compare it to my other books, and I actually have 23 other books I've published, 10 novels, 12 trivia books, and other nonfiction, you'll see the prices are just notably different. It's because they're price pointed based on, I'm pricing this book as low as I possibly can. I'm not interested in making a profit off it. But that said, this kind of a production that I'm trying to go for with this podcast and advertising, getting equipment, getting a studio somewhere that I can work from, that it doesn't look like I'm just literally recording against the back wall of my apartment, takes money. It takes investment. I don't have it. As I said, I live on disability. I'm forced to live on disability. And ultimately, my goal is to set up a program, a nonprofit that will actually reach a whole heck of a lot more than just me. I am not the only persecuted person in Montana. On my blog, I've posted a couple I've found. Most people don't want to talk. They're afraid of retaliation. I've suffered retaliation. I know. I live under the fear. I live under the fear constantly. But as I keep being reminded by my associate, Bill, I have to be willing to get out there, and I have to be willing to do this, because the only way to attract people to this cause is to actually make people aware of the cause. And the only way to do that is to speak. And it's entirely possible that they may see these videos and once again come after me. They may come after me and say, oh, you know what, we can't have him out there talking. I've got 2.5 years left on this 15-year so-called suspended sentence, where I'm serving actual both suspended and probationary sentences at the same time. And I'm incredibly fearful that they're going to find something, they made up a crime the first time. Let's just stop them from making up another crime. Let's to keep them from walking into my house, dropping a bag of some illicit substance and say, hey, look what I found. Nothing, absolutely nothing is stopping them from doing that. I don't use drugs. I don't drink. I don't do any of those illicit materials. But it doesn't stop them from coming in here and planting something. Oh, look, here's a gun. I don't have guns, but hey, here's a gun. Oh, look, we've got this kid who wants to go back home. Hey, you see this picture of this guy? If you say he touched you, we'll let you go back to your mom. What? That's how they got my so-called victim in the first place. They took her out of her home, threatened her, told her she could never go back if she didn't put me in prison, basically, if she didn't pursue this prosecution. You know, it's just, they can do whatever they want. This is the power I'm talking about. This is the unfettered, uncontrolled, absolute power they have. And people believe whatever they say. The presumption is if you go to jail, you must have done something. I didn't. But that's the problem. They don't care. So basically the idea is I need to request money. I need to request donations. You can make the donations through my PayPal, which is Ron_Glick69, which is my birth year, by the way, not sexual. So Ron_Glick69 at yahoo.com. That is my PayPal business account. You can send material donations if you have any materials or resources that you think I can use, whether it be recording equipment or whether it be some other resources that I could possibly use. I mean, you want to send me a new copy of Black's Law Dictionary as an example. I have a free copy of the 8th edition online. It's the only free copy I could find. But I mean, if you want to send me current law books, if you want to send me any resources, you can send them to my home address, which is 40 First Avenue West, number 2, Kalispell, Kalispell, Montana, 59901. And for those of you in other countries, this is USA. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but just in case. And of course, you can always go onto Amazon, look up my name, buy any of my books. Any of my books, the money goes in, especially the U.S. Political Prisoner book, obviously is earmarked towards supporting whatever I can to put this here. But if you just send me an email, say, hey, I'm buying your books, and I want the money to be donated to your outspoken cause, the Great Montana Conspiracy, whatever, I'll gladly, I'll divert it, no problem. I mean, pretty much I don't make a whole lot of money making publishing the books anyway. I'm lucky to bring in $20 a month, and it just goes towards new print copies that I can just give away for free. So it's not like I'm making money doing this. They're out there. I hope someday I get discovered. But in the meantime, it's just a recycled advertising bit. But anyway, that said, this has gone on for quite a while, probably my longest video, probably my most animated video. And I hope that you will. I was going to swat a fly in case you were wondering what I was going to do. It was flying in front of my face. But again, please do support us, spread the word, spread the video, and if you have any questions or any information for me, please feel free to reach out to me. I await your responses, and I hope you give me some positive feedback. Thank you. Bye. My name is Ron Glick. I am a U.S. political prisoner presently being detained in Kalispell, Montana. Most people see political prisoners as people who are detained in a prison or in a cell, but it also refers to anybody who is restrained of their liberty, of their freedom to travel, to move about. I have been detained since 2004 for suing the city of Kalispell and the local authorities who have brought their considerable power down upon me to penalize me for bringing that suit. They have successfully stopped this suit and have presently detained me now for 12 years. When I was originally sentenced for a false crime under the term of sexual assault that never happened, I was given 20 years with 15 of those years suspended. Instead of being released from prison on probation or parole, I was held the entire 5 years because I refused to confess to a crime I did not commit. Upon being released, instead of being released to a suspended sentence, where I would be free about to do as I please, so long as I didn't commit any additional crimes, I was instead remanded over to custody of the Department of Justice of Montana to serve a 15-year probation sentence, of which I have presently served 7 years. I was just informed on Thursday that that probation is in jeopardy. 2 years ago, I published a book called U.S. Political Prisoner Since 2004. In that book, I provide indisputable and uncontestable evidence of the corruption here locally. Though I have gotten little attention to this, I did reference my so-called victim multiple times. Now understand, in 2009, after I was released from prison, I had my conditions modified to add a censorship that I could not use the name of my so-called victim in any publication I maintained. When I published U.S. Political Prisoner Since 2004, I made every effort to redact her name from official documents. I did not use her name in any record that I detained, that I created, and I did my level best to remove her name from any public records that I included in the book as evidence and support of my position. Being human, out of the thousands of redactions I successfully made, I missed one. In the police report, there is one place where her first name is mentioned. It was an oversight, it was not deliberate, but in spite of this, they are now using this as a justification to strip me of the time I have already served, and I will once again have my clock reset and have it removed, or moved back to 15 years, once again in custody of the state of Montana. Whether that custody will be in the form of continued probation or prison time is yet to be seen, which is why I'm making this video at this time. If I disappear, if I do not respond, if I do not post anything else, assume that I am in the custody of the state, I am in jail and or prison, and I am unable to provide access to any further information. I provided this book, created this book, because I couldn't not let some record be created of what they have done to me. They're going to lock me away and keep me detained for the rest of my life because no one else will raise a hand to tell them they can't. In spite of the massive amounts of civil liberty violations, constitutional violations, everyone ignores this. No one cares. Well, now I'm going to lose my life. I have predicted for years that they would never let me serve out my 15 years, that they would keep me in custody. And now that's becoming manifest, regardless of whether it takes the form of probation or prison time. The fact is, they have every intention of resetting my calendar so that I am forced to serve 15 years again. Now keep in mind, as I said, I was originally sentenced to 15 years suspended time. That is a sentence that is served in lieu of, a sentence that is not served at the time it's imposed. A probation sentence, by contrary-wise, is a sentence that is served in lieu of incarceration. It is unconstitutional and a violation of double jeopardy for any individual to serve two sentences for the same crime. But Montana uses the suspended time as a justification to detain people under a probationary period so that they can violate under probation rules, which creates a new crime, and then hand you back your entire suspended sentence. I have served 7 years of my suspended sentence under probation custody, and now that 7 years is going to be stripped from me. Make no mistake, this is not about me in any way causing harm to a victim, causing harm to anyone, or committing any deliberate infraction of the rules, however harsh, however unique to me alone. This is purely retaliation for the publication of this book. The very people who are named as criminals in this book control the courts, control the police, control every aspect of law and government, so-called law and government, in this town, in this county, in this jurisdiction. I have no justice here. I will not see freedom again in my lifetime unless someone else steps forward to defend me. I have tried. For 12 years I have been trying. I can't get anywhere by myself. I am hoping that this video will reach someone who actually cares, who will actually do something about this. I can't do it alone, and it's looking very much like some new penalty will be placed upon me. I have been forewarned that a warrant will be issued this week, within the next day or two. Whether I'm arrested, or whether I'm just simply ordered to go down to turn myself in, the point is, I will have my liberties further stripped from me. My extension of time as a political prisoner will be increased by at least an additional 7 years. The only question at this point in time is whether that extension will be in jail, in prison, or under continued restrictive probationary custody that I was never sentenced to. If I am free after this warrant, I will update this video. I will provide an additional video, I guess. I hope someone out there will see this and understand. I hope someone, someday, will stand up to these people and stop them. But this may be the last words you hear from me on the subject, because I may never be allowed to speak again. If you care about America, if you care about this country, the ideals it stands for, don't live under the illusion. Don't live under the propaganda. Don't live under the lies, the pretenses, the falsifications. This is a tyrannical government that is allowed to run unchecked and to trample over your civil liberties at will. I am living proof of it. If you want further information about this, I highly recommend you visit my blog at monspiracy.wordpress.com. That's conspiracy with an M for Montana. It stands for the Great Montana Conspiracy. So monspiracy.wordpress.com. You can also, of course, pick up my book, U.S. Political Prisoner Since 2004. 400 pages of details, facts, and indisputable evidence that what is being done to me is criminal. Even if you set aside the belief or disbelief of whether I committed a sexual assault, the laws that were violated to place me here, the civil liberty injustices, the threats to others, the death of one witness 10 days after trial, all of this adds up to a very large question of propriety. I again implore you, do something before it happens to you or someone you love. These are my last words. Good luck.